Welcome to the Purple Political Breakdown. How's it going? How's your day been? We're back at it again. Now, I am streaming. I decided to get back into the streaming game, the podcast game. Everything is starting to kind of get a little bit more organized for what I got going on. And with that said, I'm going to turn these into videos, of course. But, if I got a lot to react to, I'm just going to make this a whole big stream to talk about all these different topics. So, tune into the streams on Rumble because I do have a Rumble account. I'm going to reinstate that. And on the YouTube channel, follow my streams, of course. With that said, this is one of the videos that I'm reacting to. Is Trump the new Hitler? This is a Piers Morgan. It seemed interesting to me. Piers Morgan from the last reaction seemed very pro-Trump, which surprised me. I didn't expect him to be pro-Trump. So this should be a very interesting conversation. It's going to be a long stream for me. So, to help me keep my minds off things, I have this controller because NCAA is right here. But I will be listening because, I've I don't know what to call it, but it helps me pay attention. You know what I'm saying? So let's dive right into it. I'm going to skip the introductions.
Should now rightly turn to whether Trump can really become a unifier should he win again and how he'll govern the country. And there are plenty of questions to answer about that. In a moment, we meet tonight's panel, but joining me now is the editor-in-chief and CEO of TheTrendgoldandfaith.
I prefer 1.25 speed personally because makes the conversation.
Mehdi, great to have you back on Uncensored. First of all, your reaction to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump.
Well, first of all, Piers, thanks for having me back on, and I enjoyed your Roy Jenkins line there about carrying the vase across the floor. Let's see if Trump can do that. The assassination was horrific. I remember hearing the news on Saturday. I was stunned, and I'm absolutely like you. I agree that if he had been killed, all hell would have broken loose, as you said earlier on the show. I totally agree.
Also, I want to keep in mind that I'm reacting to this after the Joe Biden dropping out of the presidential election. So I have knowledge of that in midst of this reaction.
Agree with that, and I'm glad he wasn't killed because number one, unlike Donald Trump, I don't wish death upon my political opponents, and number two, obviously it's fundamentally immoral and illegal to try and kill your political opponent. I would rather see Donald Trump convicted in court and/or defeated at the ballot box. So I'm very glad that he did not die on Saturday.
I interviewed Destiny yesterday. He has a big following online, and I tried to get him just to.
I already criticized Destiny. I have a video on my channel that's doing really good numbers. I expected it, so to be honest, and I'm very critical of Destiny's current rhetoric. I think it's unhinged. I'm gonna be honest.
Condemn what this shooter attempted to do, and this is what he said. I'm asking you to condemn what happened as an egregious attack on democracy. Can you do that?
No, I won't. No, I won't.
You can't do that. You see, so why the hell, frankly, Destiny,
absolutely not.
Why the hell should we listen to a word you have to say? I found that pretty startling, actually, and very indicative of what I've sensed about politics in America, in Britain, in other countries as well, that since the advent of social media in particular, fueling this kind of toxic tribal nature of discourse, that if you can't condemn a 20-year-old with an AR-15 trying to blow the brains out of a president, whoever it is, whichever side that president comes from, in the same way, and I'm not going to go over this with you today because I want to stick on to the Trump story, but it's why I always ask people in the Israel-Hamas war debate, did you condemn what happened on October the 7th? Because frankly, it's quite illuminating if people can't condemn horror when they see it. I'm not comparing the two, and I don't want you to respond to that part of it. But what I do want to just get your reaction to is, do you share my discomfort that people have got so entrenched into their side now, so entrenched that they just simply can't see the wood for the trees and say something which is vaguely humane?
Look, that is a very fair point. I'm not a fan of Destiny, but let me just put some of what he was saying in context because I watched that discussion. I think the point he was trying to make, and I think he did it badly, is that there is a double standard here. That as with the Palestine-Israel debate, where you tend to only ask Palestinians to condemn and not Israelis, journalists, not just yourself, tend to obsess over liberals condemning stuff while conservatives get a pass. And I think that is what bothers a lot of people. It certainly bothers me. And, you mentioned condemning violence, Piers. On Monday's show, you had Ben Shapiro on. I think you had Dan, the Texas Congressman Dan Crenshaw on. And you had Rudy Giuliani on, right? All three of them have at some point glorified violence, embraced violence, incited violence. Dan Crenshaw's put out videos where he's blowing stuff up.
He's kind of cooking. He's kind of cooking, which is something that is very legitimate to say, especially with Piers Morgan, who tries to broadcast himself as this like neutral commentator. That Destiny is unhinged for sure. But is the energy being kept on both sides? And it's interesting to me in my comment section that I have people on the right, not a lot, a few. I'm going to point that out. A few right-wing people in my comment section saying this is why the left is so bad. They don't condemn their own side. And the hypocrisy is glaring to me that you would even say that in my comment section. I think both deserve very valid criticism. But the fact that you would say only the left doesn't do it, very interesting.
Start beating up left-wingers. Rudy Giuliani, as you know, Piers, on January the 6th, told an armed mob to do trial by combat. Ben Shapiro had to deny any influence on the Quebec City mosque shooter who killed 6 Muslims in January 2017. Ben Shapiro called Obama a fascist. You didn't ask any of those 3 people to condemn their own past. So that's, I think, what bothers Destiny, certainly bothers me. We have one party in this country, one movement that's been inciting violence for years. That's the Republican Party and the conservative movement. And yet one bullet is fired by a registered Republican voter on Saturday. And suddenly it's the liberals must condemn Democrats. Joe Biden sitting on TV, mumbling defensively, I shouldn't have said bullseye. It's a joke. Come on, Piers. You know and I know that the political violence in this country is coming from the right. The incitement's coming from the right. Donald Trump has embraced violence.
Okay, let me
in my lifetime.
Let me respond to that. Look, in relation to things like January the 6th, my record speaks for itself. I wrote a number of pretty blistering columns about.
You know how he always has to qualify himself as like this neutral? I'm starting to catch on to Piers Morgan, and maybe I didn't watch enough Piers Morgan to catch on to this. But he always tries to call himself as this like neutral individual. To be fair, I can't be too mad at Piers Morgan because I believe I'm a neutral individual. I mean, my platform is called the Purple Political Breakdown. But I have steadfast beliefs. I will legitimately criticize both sides, but I will also be honest on my opinion. So maybe I'm being a little too harsh.
How appalling I found that, and what a shocking attack on democracy it was, and how shameful Trump's rhetoric was on the day to fuel the mob. Make no pretense of that whatsoever. On this particular occasion, I wanted to have a conversation about what happened to Donald Trump last weekend. One of the things that I would counter what you've just said with is, this idea that somehow the left have been completely blameless. And just to remind people, I'm not on the right. I'm not a conservative, never have been. Right? I mean, I voted for Margaret Thatcher when I was about 18, but I've also voted for Tony Blair, and I voted for left-wing leaders before, and I ran a Daily Mirror, which, as you know, was a left-leaning newspaper in Britain for 10 years. So this idea that I'm on the right, as some people try and paint me, is for the birds. However, what I try and do is be fair-minded about the culpability of both sides. And I'll return the favor by criticizing you, because one of my big bugbears here has been the persistent analogies and comparisons of Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. And I want to play two clips of you.
All right, let's see if there's any consistency here. Hold up. What's the point of bringing this up? If this is just a conversation point, that's one thing, but I'm trying to see what Piers Morgan is trying to do. I have to catch it.
Is for the birds. However, what I try and do is be fair-minded about the culpability of both sides. And I'll return the favor by criticizing you, because one of my big bugbears.
I am trying to criticize both sides. So instead of responding to the point he made, he's going to divert the point to a different talking point in regards to Trump being Hitler. Okay, interesting. All right, sure, whatever.
Here has been the persistent analogies and comparisons of Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. And I want to play two clips of you.
Free to say that this is approaching sort of a fascist sort of ideology.
As you say, it's not just approaching, we're beyond it, right?
Yes.
I was saying on this network in 2020, I was saying in my writing in 2019, this is authoritarianism, this is fascism. People have to calm the hell down. Everyone used to cite a guy called Robert Paxton, who's one of this country's leading historians of fascism. And he would say, Trump's not a fascist. He doesn't meet the definition of fascism. Guess what he said on January the 6th? I was wrong. He's a fascist. Even Robert Paxton comes out and says, he's a fascist, right? He's got armed militias. He's inciting violence. Now he's straight up channeling Adolf Hitler.
Trump isn't hiding his authoritarian ambitions for a second term, from punishing his political opponents to locking up immigrants in camps to deploying the military, all while echoing the hateful rhetoric of Adolf Hitler.
Now, I also want to play you a mashup of a lot of other public figures talking about Trump.
Yeah, I saw it on Monday.
Let's play it again for viewers who may not have seen it.
Many are openly comparing Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler.
Trump's been compared to the German dictator by some throughout his presidential campaign.
Is Donald Trump really a fascist?
Maria Chappelle-Nadal posted this picture to Twitter yesterday. It appears to compare Donald Trump to Hitler.
Former President Trump doubles down on a phrase many say he borrowed from Hitler.
President Fantasyland decided to take a page out of Adolf Hitler's playbook last week.
Yes, Donald Trump took his Hitler cosplay to the next level.
Do you want to clear?
You know, it's kind of I'm willing to really kind of bridge the gap with Republicans and Trump supporters. It's so lazy when the left just compares everything to Adolf Hitler, right? Because what you're doing is you're immediately trying to attach a emotional trigger because Adolf Hitler is one of the worst human beings in modern history, right? So it's an easy and recognizable way to frame someone as evil, as bad. I think that's lazy, and that doesn't really help what you're trying to do. I think there's a better way to phrase Donald Trump as someone who is very bad for the country and bad for democracy without immediately giving out Adolf Hitler. That's just me, you know?
Clear the air because you think you're being unfavorably compared to Donald Trump.
A unified Reich? That's Hitler's language. That's not America's.
New York's Daily News ran this front page earlier this week. Trump is Hitler.
According to the Washington Post, Trump has long toyed with the language of fascists.
Former President Donald Trump allegedly praised Adolf Hitler, saying the Nazi leader had, quote, done some good things.
Now, with all due respect, that is all bullshit. Yeah. Trump is not Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler murdered 12 million people, killing 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. There is no comparison to be made between Adolf Hitler and the Nazis and Donald Trump. And to persistently make it, as you and many others on the left have done for years since he first ran in 2016, I think has been part of the problem of the political discourse in America. If you keep calling a guy Hitler, is it completely insane to think that at some point somebody's going to say, well, in that case, if he really is the new Hitler, we've got to kill him? I mean,
ain't no way Piers Morgan is making this lazy ass point that the reason someone tried to assassinate Trump is because people kept on calling him Hitler. There's no way Piers Morgan is making that point. That is beyond lazy. Come on, Piers. Come on. People attacked him because they kept on saying he's Adolf Hitler. Like, come on. Like, really? That's ridiculous.
You be the first to construct a moral argument that if somebody is literally the new Hitler right now on this planet, there is an absolute moral imperative, indeed duty, to kill that person. Otherwise, he's not the new Hitler.
Okay.
He can't be both.
Let's unpack. There's a lot there, Piers. You said a lot there and played a very long chance. Let's respond to some of the things. First of all, you say that's all bullshit, you said, playing that clip a moment ago. That clip ended with Willie Geist of NBC reporting that Donald Trump said Hitler did some good things. How is that bullshit? That's what Donald Trump said.
Because if you read the whole context of what he actually said that day, it's a deliberately misconstrued tiny part of what he said.
It's not.
It is actually.
It's not. It's what John Kelly said.
Well,
hold on. You've got a long question. Let me respond to you. He also said, you quoted me on MSNBC. Yeah, I was responding to Trump literally quoting lines from Mein Kampf.
All right, let me rewind.
That clip a moment ago. That clip ended with Willie Geist of NBC reporting that Donald Trump said Hitler did some good things. How is that bullshit? That's what Donald Trump said.
Because if you read the whole context of what he actually said that day, it's a deliberately misconstrued tiny part of what he said.
It's not.
It is actually.
It's not. It's what John Kelly said.
Well,
hold on.
Wait, what is the full quote? Please give it to me, Piers Morgan. What's the full quote of saying? What quote? And I don't like to make opinions based off like tiny quotes. I usually like to look it up, see the context. But what is the context that you can give where Trump is able to rationalize the point of saying Hitler did some good things? I am so curious. You know what? I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up myself.
You got a long question. Let me respond to you. He also said, you quoted me on MSNBC. Yeah, I was responding to Trump literally quoting lines from Mein Kampf, poisoning the blood of this country. Piers, you're not a racist, I hope. You don't agree with saying immigrants are poisoning the blood of this country.
Do you think he is the new
Nazi
Hitler?
line? Hold on, that is a Nazi. That's not. No, I'm responding to you. Played a clip of me, so I'm going to talk about what I said. I stand by the line that Donald Trump is echoing the rhetoric of Adolf Hitler. He is. That's a fact. Donald Trump praised Hitler, according to his own Republican chief of staff. That is a fact. And stop saying the left calls him Hitler. You know who called him America's Hitler? His running mate, J.D.
Okay, so I try to look it up. I can't find anything substantive. It's allegations that he said this. Like he said, a general said he said this. So, you know, I don't know what context Piers Morgan is thinking of if there's really no actual like quote. I mean, it's hard. It's very weak evidence.
Vance, a Republican senator, called him America's Hitler. So by
the way, he was wrong too.
The left.
He was
Republicans, wrong too. Doesn't matter whether he was wrong. You're wrong to say it was the left. J.D. Vance called him. Well, no, you're wrong. You're wrong, Piers, because J.D. Vance is a Republican. He compared him to Hitler. People who have looked at what Trump and said has done, fascism experts, have said the guy is echoing fascism.
Just to reiterate, Donald Trump's current vice president said that Donald Trump was Hitler in 2016, around that time. The fact that he 180 so much, That's all I'm gonna say. It's kind of
this is a guy, Piers, and I know you are the grandson of a British war hero who fought the Nazis. I know Captain Mark Oliver was a World War II hero who fought the Nazis. So I don't say this lightly when I say this. Matthew Oliver, excuse me, war hero for our country. And yet today you're taking light of the fact that Donald Trump quotes Adolf Hitler. He praises Nazis at Charlottesville as very fine people. He hosts a Nazi Holocaust denier for dinner at his home. Did you condemn that? I mean, it's absurd. And by the way, you say you're not right-wing.
I did condemn
that. You say you're not right-wing, Piers, and yet you give your right-wing guests a pass. Ben Shapiro came on your show on Monday. You didn't ask him about calling Barack Obama a fascist. Did he incite violence against Barack Obama? Why didn't you ask Ben Shapiro? Why are you playing a clip of me on Trump, but you didn't play a clip of Shapiro?
Never mind what interviews I've done with other people. What I'm curious about.
Give your right-wing guests a pass. Ben Shapiro came on your show on Monday. You didn't ask him about calling Barack Obama a fascist. Did he incite violence?
Piers Morgan getting called out because these right-wingers, and you can literally go on social media, they have said some crazy things about Democrats and Democratic politicians. And I do remember Shapiro saying that Obama's a fascist, but he didn't bring that up. I don't know, Piers. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Against Barack Obama. Why didn't you ask Ben Shapiro? Why are you playing a clip of me on Trump, but you didn't play a clip of Shapiro?
Never mind what interviews I've done with other people. What I'm curious about is,
Piers said, never mind the interviews I've done with other people. That's strike one. I'm not gonna lie. Kind of point. Mahdi. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I don't want to call him Hassan because there is a Hassan, and I don't really like the Twitch Hassan. Point Mehdi, come on. I don't like what Hassan says. I don't have any gripes with him as a person. I don't know him.
Okay, well, when you tell me right wing,
let me ask you.
Let me ask you. Liberal and left guess.
Mehdi, do you genuinely believe that Donald Trump is the new Hitler? Yes or no?
No, I don't believe he's the new Hitler. I believe he's someone who quotes Hitler. Do you believe that he should have hosted a Holocaust-denying Hitler supporter at his home for dinner?
No, I tweeted he shouldn't have done.
So then why are you giving him a pass? Why are you always praising him on your show?
He quotes Hitler. Do you think he's the new Hitler? Interesting. Okay.
You start every show saying, why is a guy running for president who, come on, Piers, I've watched you for the last 3 days. You've been bathing him with praise. This is a guy who hosts a Holocaust home, hang on, praises Nazis, calls African countries shithole countries, tells non-white women to go back to the countries they came from, says black people like me more because I got indicted.
Don't misquote me. By the way, if you want to know my views about all the things you've just been saying, they're all there, public record. I'm a weekly columnist. I've condemned Trump for many things, but he is not the new Hitler.
That's easy to do, but overall, you're still supporting him for Hitler.
Let me point out a point.
You haven't called for him to stand down from the race. You call for Biden to stand down.
I don't think Trump
who praises Hitler.
Well, we're going to come to Biden where we'll find common ground, I'm sure. But the point I've been making about Trump since the attempted assassination, I've only made 2 points about Trump.
I'm sure we have common ground.
I've only made 2 points about Trump since the weekend. One, he showed incredible personal courage in the seconds after he was shot to get back up when he didn't know if there were still other shooters out there and to show such defiance. Okay, you may not think so, but I did, right? Secondly,
I'm saying fair enough. That literally means that's a fair point.
Okay, and secondly, the only other point I made is I genuinely think this is going to propel him back to the White House. It's not I don't have a vote.
That is not the only other point.
I don't have a vote. I haven't told anyone to vote for him. Maybe you've got to let me finish my sentence. You've got to let me finish my sentence. You have to. As you would expect on your show, right? I believe he's going to win. I'm not telling people to vote for him. I can't vote for him. I just believe Donald Trump will now be the next president of the United States, partly because of what happened last.
You know what I notice, and something I'm liking less and less is I get the power of words, but we got to understand that when it comes down to how you conduct yourself, how you frame things, it's not necessarily, and this kind of goes into the famous phrase, actions speak louder than words. And these are not necessarily actions in the traditional sense, but the actions of people, and maybe this should be a different phrase, but the action of people is based off circumstantial things they do consistently in regards to different topics and how they frame everything. Just because you don't say something outright doesn't mean anything anymore. And actually never should have meant anything, to be honest, because politics is all about playing the games, being very particular with your words to manipulate the populace. So it's not about Piers Morgan, you outright saying vote for Trump. It's about how you talk about Trump versus how you talk about Biden. It's about how you talk about Republicans versus how you talk about Democrats. It's about what shows you have on a consistent base. Is it a show to crap on Democrats? It's about how you let a Republican talk more than a Democrat. That's what it's about. It's all about the framing. So I think people need to realize that. And maybe I'm being hard. I'm not being harsh on Piers Morgan. I'm being honest from what I've seen. But I think people need to kind of use that framework or use that mindset for like people in general when it comes to political commentary. That's how you truly catch people on what they believe. This whole I didn't say that, not good enough.
Last weekend, and partly because of the decrepit and ridiculous and embarrassing state of the person he's up against, Joe Biden. So when you say I've been praising Trump for 3 days, no, all I've said is I think he showed great personal courage and I think he's going to win the election. Those two things, by the way, I think are going to turn out historically to be completely true.
No, come on. That's incomplete. I watched both your shows Monday, Tuesday. People can go watch them. You have acted as if there's two sides to this, that the Democrats are guilty of the same incitement of violence. But there's not. I'm sorry. All right, let's play a game.
I literally just played a bunch of people calling him Hitler for the last 8 years.
Those are not... Sorry. Well, no, you didn't actually. You played a clip from Willie Geist accurately reporting that Trump said Hitler did.
No, I played many people.
Hold on.
I can play a few again.
Hold on. Piers, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, leadership of the Democratic Party. Can you play to me clips of them inciting violence in the same way as Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ron DeSantis, Paul Gosar?
Why are you deflecting?
Because you are deflecting, Piers. I'm not going to sit here and let you do both sides bullshit.
You might be conflating.
This is the Republican Party is a party of violence.
You might be conflating
Piers, I can sit all day with you. Now you're cutting me off. Hold on, you're cutting me off. Let me answer your question.
I'm reminding you it's actually my show and I do the questions and you answer them. On yours, it's the other way around.
Let me answer the question then.
Let
me answer the question. There are not two sides.
When you say
it's always interesting. To be fair, I'm thinking, who's this clown? The way he's playing games, please next time don't bring that kind of clown to your show. Talking about Mehdi Hassan. I don't know what games are being played. As of right now, this back and forth is unproductive.
It's not two sides, but I played you a bunch of clips of people repeatedly calling him Hitler. I say to you, there's the two sides.
All right, so let me respond. Can I respond?
Yep.
How is it two sides when you're only showing clips that help your Trump rhetoric? I don't know.
Can I respond? Okay, let me respond. Donald Trump ran for office in 2016 telling protesters rallies to punch people who pay their bills. As president, he played a clip of a guy saying the only good Democrat is a dead Democrat. He said to the Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. He called Nazis at Charlottesville. No, let me finish. You're interrupting me, Piers. I need to finish my sentence. You get to finish yours. I'm on your show. I'm a guest. I'm answering.
What's your question? Wait, hold up. Do you genuinely believe Donald Trump is the new Hitler? Didn't he already answer this? I think he said, I think he quotes Hitler. I think that's what he said, right? And supports Nazis. Maybe he said that too. I mean, I don't even necessarily agree. That might be strong, but I mean, he did answer your question. So where's the deflection? I don't know.
I'm pointing out it's not two sides. What Donald Trump has said, your viewers need to hear this because you're not telling them this. Trump spent his entire presidency inciting violence against Ilhan Omar, George Soros, multiple members of Congress, people of color, right? He left office, right, having incited an insurrection which you condemned. He told them to go fight like hell. He said Mark Milley should be executed, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
What's this got to do with my question?
He mocked Paul Pelosi. I'm getting to it. He mocked Paul Pelosi for being hammered in the head.
He was wrong to do that. That was outrageous.
Executed. It's not about whether he was wrong, Piers. I can give you dozens of actual violent quotes from Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Paul Gosar. You can't give me those quotes
back to my
from
question?
Biden, Pelosi, Jeffries. No, answer my question. Where did Joe Biden say?
No, I asked you a question, Mehdi.
But it's not both sides, Piers. You can't deflect, Piers. The viewers are watching.
Your side has literally spent 8 years calling him Hitler. It's ridiculous to say there's no both sides.
Wait. So his question, I just want to be clear. Piers Morgan's question is that where is the other side calling? Is this? Hopefully, he's not playing the word games. I want to be clear. I'm trying to understand Piers Morgan's question. I'm hoping he's not doing the weird game where he's going like, "Where's the other side calling him Hitler?" I hope he's smarter than this. I hope that's not his point. I hope his point is, did the other side spout rhetoric, kind of not condemning, but framing the other side as evil or condoning some type of violence on the person? Because that's the point you're making. It's not where did the other side call him Hitler? Because that is lazy. That is super lazy. So if your point is, did the other side kind of play into violent rhetoric, like frame him as evil, all that stuff, similar to what the Democrats have been doing to Trump by calling him Hitler? If that is the point that's the question you're asking, how is he not answering your question? I'm trying to understand. How's he not answering your question? Maybe Piers Morgan will clarify. Maybe.
Discuss the Hitler point. Where have they incited violence?
Let me ask you
Biden
this.
say go kill people?
You can't keep asking me
No,
questions.
Piers, I'm not letting this go. Sorry. General Mark Milley, he called for his execution. Can you point me to a single Democrat who's called for Republican execution?
Let me ask you
I'll
again.
wait. I won't interrupt you.
Let me ask. No,
I'm waiting, Piers. Point me to a single Democrat who's called for an execution.
Respectfully, it's my show. I ask the questions. Now listen, answer me this. If he...
I'm not gonna lie. He's kind of cooking Piers Morgan right now. I'm being honest. But I need him to also kind of, because he is deflecting to an extent. But I think he also, okay, let me see how Piers Morgan asks his next question. Let me see if it's a good question.
If he is the new Hitler, as so many people have been calling him, would there be a moral justification in shooting him?
Of course not. I'm not someone who advocates violence, Piers. The Republicans are, but you've never asked them about it because you're supportive of the
deflecting,
Mehdi.
That's not a deflection. That's not a deflection. He legit answered your question. Of course not. I'm not an advocate for political violence. That is not a deflection. He answered the question very directly. Then he proceeds to saying, keep the same energy, though. The question was answered pretty directly. I don't know what else Piers Morgan. What other answer does he want? He asked the question, he was answered. What is Piers Morgan looking for?
Stick to your side.
Of the fray. I'm not deflecting. I answered your question. I just said I don't support violence. The only people who support violence in American political culture are Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump, Paul Gosar, Ron DeSantis, the governor of Montana who was convicted for assaulting a journalist. Trump praised him. Paul Pelosi was hammered by a guy who believed in an election lie. Trump praised him. I mean, this is insane, Piers. There's one side that is inciting violence, praising violence, mocking violence. You have no problem with them. Instead, you obsess over journalists reporting accurately.
Actually, I heard the president.
Yo, Piers Morgan's getting fried. Hey, you know what I respect from Piers Morgan though? That, I mean, to be fair, maybe he thought he was winning this debate, but the fact that he put this out still. To be fair, he has no choice but to put it out, right? Because is this live TV? I don't even know if this is live TV. Whether it might be live TV, even if it's not, he would have the information about this happening. And if he didn't post it, it would make Piers Morgan look worse. So
I read that the president of the United States, only 3 days before Donald Trump was shot, said it's time to put him in the bullseye. If that's not violent language,
Piers Morgan's playing right into his trap, because he literally said all these things that Donald Trump did, and now he's bringing up Biden for what he did. What needs to happen from Mehdi is he needs to accept that's not an okay quote, and I think Biden apologized for saying, or I think he apologized for saying it. Trump would never apologize for saying something like this, but I think Biden did. But let me look up the quote. What did Biden actually say? Let me look this up, because Biden's quote about bullseye, because that's a crazy quote. Let me see exactly what the quote was. Okay, let me see. Bulls. According Biden on the call, I have one job, and that's to beat Donald Trump. I was absolutely certain I'm the best person to be able to do that. So we're done talking about the debate. It's time to put Trump in a bullseye. Is that a? I might be tripping. Is that like a crazy quote? Is that a crazy? It looks bad because of the assassination attempt, but like if I'm reading this, like if the assassination attempt didn't happen, would anybody go out of their way and say, "Oh yeah, Biden wants violence against Trump" from this quote? I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. But Come on, Piers. Really? Is that your best?
This is such bad faith. You know perfectly well Biden was not inciting violence. It's a figure of speech. He's already foolishly apologized for it.
Okay.
You're comparing that to calling for the execution of Mark Milley.
So every time your side uses violent language.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. I've been watching Piers recently, and the way he characterizes everything has been interesting.
They don't mean it, but every time the other side does, they do.
Hold on. Oh, my word. Piers, come on. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump called for their opponents to be executed. Did Biden do that? I'll ask again. You dodged it the first time. No. Did Joe Biden do that? And you're obsessed with Hitler.
Yes, I'm obsessed with Hitler because you and so many others.
Let me look up this quote too, because that's actually a crazy quote. You know, I like to fact check things. Did Trump ask for someone to be executed? That's what another. Is Trump planning to reinstate fires floods? Mark Milley deserves execution. Oh, here we go. Let me see this. The former president and a leading blah blah blah. Let me execute. All right, let's get to the quote. And yet, none of the nation's front page is blared. Trump suggests that top general deserves execution, or former president accuses general of treason. Okay, what did? Oh, I have to buy this? Wait, this is what it is, blah, blah, blah. Trump's threats against Milley. There's to be put to death. Trump saying that a general deserves to be put to death? Hold on. Milley says Trump disrespect U.S. with execution. Donald Trump execution comment about Mark Milley. Hey, man, I like to fact check things. I want to see if this is a real thing because that's a crazy quote. It's right here. He suggests someone deserves death. He called Milley a dumbass and an overrated general. Crazy. If the Mark Milley, former blah blah blah, the outgoing chairman, blah blah blah. Trump blasted behind his back by making phone calls to Chinese counterparts. That'd be crazy. So egregious. A war between China, blah blah, will be the result of this treasonous act. So he said he excused Milley for contacting China. To de-escalate, stay calm. President, blah, blah, blah. It's a better, blah, blah, blah. Called him a traitor to engage in language that should be something that somebody's prospect. Calling a dumbass, blah, blah, losers. Why should I go to that cemetery? It's filled with losers. Oh, this is the quote about. So is Milley the one who said the quote about, or reported on the quote where Trump said, "Why should I go to the cemetery? It's filled with losers," talking about veterans? Okay, interesting. All right, let's continue.
Keep calling him
why
Hitler.
haven't you condemned Trump? So does Trump. Trump called Biden the Gestapo just 2 months ago. Did you condemn him on the show?
But should people? Let me ask you this: should people?
No. Did you
hang on,
Trump?
Mehdi? I'm asking you.
Every time Piers Morgan doesn't want to answer a question, he tries to change the topic. I'm noticing. I don't watch Piers Morgan like that. I've watched him maybe 3 times, and now I'm really seeing who Piers Morgan really is.
Question Hitler. No,
I'm asking you a question.
Piers, you've made this entire interview about Hitler.
I'm asking you.
Biden?
I'm asking you.
For calling Biden the Gestapo.
Should people on the left continue?
Did you condemn Trump?
Mehdi, ask the question. Should people on the left continue to compare Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler? Yes or no? Should the right call Biden Hitler?
Well, this is a deflection. This right here is a deflection. Answer the question and then continue.
Gestapo. It's not deflecting. I'm pointing out your biases, Piers.
I'm asking you a question about your side.
Oh, my side is as long as Trump carries on praising Nazis, I'll point that out. I'm not going to. This show is called Piers Uncensored, but you want to stop me from criticizing Trump because a Republican.
I don't want to stop you. Why do you say that?
No.
Why do you say that?
You just said, "Will you stop comparing him to Hitler?"
Yes.
I'm only comparing him to Hitler because he talks like Hitler.
So you are comparing him to Hitler, who killed 12 million people?
Because he's quoting Hitler. No, I'm not.
So you do think he's the new Hitler?
Childish.
So you do think he's Hitler?
No, I think he's. No, I don't. I already said no, Piers. This is very hard to understand.
So he's not the new Hitler.
He's not the new Hitler.
If he's not the new Hitler, should people stop calling him Hitler? Yes or no?
he's not the new Hitler, but he's quoting Hitler, so I'm going to say he's quoting Hitler, and you can't censor me from saying that.
Of course,
if you have a problem.
Okay. Well, he answers saying he's not the new Hitler. So the best way for Mehdi to really answer this question in full is saying people should stop saying that he is Hitler, but still criticize his rhetoric, whatever, where he's quoting Hitler. Like you can say people need to contextualize their statements better. I think that's all Mehdi needs to say for Piers to be satisfied. Well, okay. So this is all right. Let me think about this fully, because I would love if conversations were like fluid and honest, but this is probably what would happen. So if Mehdi admitted to that, Piers would go like, well, because they are doing it, this is what caused someone to assassinate him. The biggest point, what Piers Morgan wants is an admission that calling him Hitler is a bad thing. Therefore, that's why someone would try to assassinate him. That is Piers Morgan's conclusion or his thesis, right? Okay. That's so stupid, though. We'll carry on. This video is long.
Problem with the Hitler analogies. Hold on, Piers. You do lots of interviews with Trump. Why don't you ask him to stop echoing Hitler instead of asking him softball questions?
Oh, well, actually, I didn't ask softball questions. If you go back and look at them, they were probably the toughest.
Did you ask him to stop quoting Hitler?
Sorry?
Did you ask him to stop quoting Hitler?
You seem fascinated with questions I've asked other people. But you yourself don't want to answer these questions.
Because I worry about your double standards, Piers.
What double standards?
About your bias. I just pointed out to you.
I don't have a bias.
Came on your show. You didn't play him a clip. Can I finish? You asked me a question. You didn't let me finish. Ben Shapiro came on your show.
You said all
this. You did not play a clip of Ben Shapiro calling up.
You said all this.
Can you finish one sentence? Ben
You've done what Joe Biden did with Lester Holt.
Of him calling a fascist.
You've done what Joe Biden did with Lester Holt. Every time Lester Holt asked Biden a question, he deflected.
Actually, I wish Joe Biden would be more aggressive, as I am with you, and not put up with bullshit questions about bullseyes.
Listen, like I said,
you and I both agree Joe Biden should be way more aggressive and coherent.
Well, we're going to come to Joe Biden. We're going to come to Joe Biden in a moment, but just to be crystal clear, you have no problem with people on the left continuing to call Trump Adolf Hitler or compare him to Hitler.
I have no problem with Republicans like J.D. Vance calling Donald Trump Hitler if he talks like Hitler. No, I have no problem with that.
And what about people on the left, like including you?
I mean, should I not? Okay, Piers, I don't understand this question. If Donald Trump quotes Hitler, should I not say that? Should I censor myself?
I'm just saying, if you genuinely believe on the left that
you need to be clear with your question.
I'm trying to ask you.
No, I need to know. I need to understand your question. Should I not say to people that Donald Trump just quoted Hitler? Should I say no? Should I not say
that's
that?
Not what I said.
Calling him the new Hitler.
Not what I said. I said,
then what should I do?
Should people on the left continue to compare Trump to Hitler in light of what happened to him last weekend? Do you think that is part of the violent rhetoric?
Last weekend is irrelevant, Piers. What's last weekend got to do with Trump's rhetoric? He was shot by a Republican
because if people genuinely get
we don't know the motives.
If people
you misled your viewers on Monday. You said he got shot because of the consequences of Biden's language. That's false, Piers. You should probably withdraw.
I said he was partly to blame.
It's a false statement.
If you read the column properly, you would know that I said that.
No, I'm reading what you said on air.
Hang on.
The guy got shot because of the consequences of this kind of language. That's false. We don't know why.
I said that the ratcheting up on all sides of violent rhetoric on all sides, including by Biden, has played a role in somebody deciding.
Someone in my comment section, please. I'm curious because I'm thinking about like, what is the most notable thing that the people on the right do when it comes down to leftist stuff? And I think about like, yeah, I'm not an advocate for like political violence either. I think that is not healthy for a strong government. 100%. I fully agree with that. But I'm curious if Piers Morgan in particular, because I don't watch all this content, so it's more of a question. Does Piers Morgan, was he critical of the right when people were calling people on the left PDF files? Was he critical when when people on the right were doing this? Because that's like one of the worst things you can call someone. Like in terms of instead of a figure, in terms of a type of person, that's probably the worst type a person. So people would want to, commit violence, similar, very similar. Was he condemning people who were doing that too? I'm genuinely curious because I think both are stupid. Making these blanketed statements about someone. I think it's more effective when you criticize very specific actions. Blanket statements are like the death of discourse, to be honest. But I want to see it because right now it seems like Piers Morgan has a double standard from like the couple videos I've seen of Piers Morgan, and I've seen him criticize like trans stuff too. So now I'm thinking like, did Piers Morgan criticize the right for calling the left PDF files? I don't know. I'm curious about that, genuinely.
I think they want to kill Trump. Right?
You don't know that. You don't know that. He could be a crazy school shooter type. We have no idea why this guy shot at Trump. He was a Trump supporter who shot at Trump. It's very confusing. We don't know why he did that.
But would you understand that if someone is described repeatedly as Adolf Hitler, that some deranged individual might think it's morally justified to then kill the new Hitler? And that's why it's dangerous.
This is so lazy from reporting. Unless you know the motive, just assuming the motive to push an agenda is so lazy. Like, this is wrong with media, right? Like, hey, Trumpies. Isn't this wrong with this is what's wrong with media pushing narratives? Isn't that wrong? Like, I want to hear his motive. If his motive was I went after Trump because I thought he was Hitler, go to town, Piers. But until that happens, what are we doing? This is just to.
So that's why it should stop.
So my colleague John Harwood is okay. So hold on. First of all, it should stop. Donald Trump, not Joe Biden, called his opponent
This
Hitler.
is fantastic. You deflect on every single question I've asked you.
Because you are so one-sided, Piers, so I have to give some balance to this.
I'm just asking, do you think people should stop calling him Hitler? Because obviously it's a ridiculous...
And I've already said to you, when he stops... I promise, Piers, let's do a deal. I promise, if Trump stops quoting and acting like Hitler and quoting Hitler and praising Nazis, I promise never to mention Hitler again. Deal?
So once again, you actually don't want to stop calling him Hitler, even though you know it's...
Once again, you don't want to engage with the rhetoric. This is like your new Hamas gotcha question. The substance of this, Piers, is that Trump has praised Nazis at Charlottesville, hosted a Nazi for dinner at his house, and quotes from Mein Kampf. You're telling me, the great free speech champion, I should not be allowed to point that out because someone like you will say, I'm calling him Hitler. No, I'm pointing out facts, Piers. If you don't like facts, well, what's the line your friend Ben Shapiro says? Facts don't care about your feelings.
They don't care about feelings at all. It's not about my feelings. It's about, I believe, the language on both sides.
You're bothered by a comparison.
I believe the language on both sides. He's not calling out the language on the other side, not at all. Piers Morgan's kind of looking like a hypocrite. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna keep things straight up. He's kind of looking like a hypocrite.
Language on both sides has to stop, and I think the left should stop calling him Hitler.
You need to point, and you should point out to where Joe Biden has called for the execution of his opponents. Only one candidate running for president has called for the execution of his opponents. You have not called that out.
Let's end on a point where I think we may meet some agreement.
I'll call it out. Political violence, not an effective strategy to keep a stable government and a strong institution. People on the right who do it, people on the left who do it, use blanket statements to characterize someone without focusing on the actual things being talked about and being done is lazy and not productive. Both sides. There we go, Piers Morgan. I did it for you. Jesus Christ.
Joe Biden should not be the Democratic nominee, should he?
No, I don't think Joe Biden should be the Democratic nominee. I don't think Donald Trump should be.
We can skirt past this one because Joe Biden has dropped out of the race. Calls take you're spreading Russia propaganda. Attacks on Joe right now are coming from his own party. I mean, the rest of it's kind of irrelevant since it's talking about Joe Biden and he dropped out the race, so it's really not important, right? Is there anything of substance later? Nah. All right. We'll end this stream here. So, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Should I react to the Jubilee stuff or Trump's speech?